Josh, North Carolina, you're in the Wilkow majority. Hello.
Hi, sir.
Yes, sir. Fine, how are you?
Good. I was a Marine in the Marines for 10 years, retired, got wounded, medically retired, and I in the area, and I lean to the liberal side of most issues. And all of my buddies and one of my friends is really Republican. We went to the local Republican office here to get a Romney sign. It seems like every time I talk to someone, they just tell me I want to ruin America because of my beliefs. And I just wanted to know why we can't decide we want to get to the same place. I just might have a different idea on how to get there.
Because if your idea how to get there is not constitutional, because there's a difference between society and government. And when you commingle the two and you use government to create society, there are things that this government does, that governments do, that are not in their chartered powers. But we offer that up to, well, you have a different opinion, or this is just your way of doing things, or you lost an election, so deal with it. I think that the people who subscribe to this philosophy that what I think the Constitution says is as good as what it actually says, that what I was taught in class it says is as good as what it actually says, and this is just about, some innocuous agenda, even though the secondary and tertiary effects might be disastrous. So what is it that you think puts you on the liberal side, and what is it that you believe that your friends say is ruining this country?
Well, one of the examples that's on the hot topic right now is the gun ban.
Okay.
Yeah, 30-round magazines. Everybody says right to bear arms. Well, 30-round magazine, the Second Amendment has nothing to do with how many rounds your magazine is. Another of my favorite thing is I completely believe in universal health care. And, well, it's not in the Constitution.
Okay,
well,
so that's where you stop right. No. See, that's where it stops. That's where it stops. You either amend this is what I mean by getting there. Mechanics of the Constitution. There's only one way for the federal government to legally and constitutionally get itself more authority. That is to amend the Constitution. The idea that because it doesn't say this or it doesn't say that because it says the speed limit sign is here, it doesn't mean 5 miles down the road, well, there's no speed limit sign here, I guess there's no speed limit. Keep off the grass right on this little patch, but not over there. When it lays out enumerated powers, those are the only things government can do. Can the state of North Carolina declare war on Japan?
I would imagine not.
Why not?
To be honest, I don't know.
So the state of North Carolina couldn't just invade the island nation of Japan? I mean, why not? What's stopping you? It doesn't say anything in the North Carolina state constitution that says you can't invade another country. I guess you could then, right?
Well, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't exactly know where you're going. I'm sorry.
What I'm getting at is that what authority, on what ground is the federal government standing on when it creates these programs like universal? It's one thing to say, wouldn't it be great if we could have universal health care? Or I think we'd be a more just nation if we had universal health care. Or I wish government could take care of all the people that don't have health insurance or what have you. All I would ask you is, where does government draw its authority from? We don't live in a democracy. In a democracy, government gets its authority from the will of the people. In a constitutional republic, it gets its power in that people are elected by democracy, but the Constitution or a constitution fixes the power of the government. And if government needs more power, it can't just say, well, I've been elected. It has to go back to the people.
One of the main things I try to get at.
But okay, I'm making sure you heard me. Like, for example, Barack Obama did not say to us that he was going to go after a gun ban in his second term. So people were unaware of that when they were voting. In other words, there's specific and enumerated powers. If government wants more power, it has to go back to the people to ask permission. That is consent of the governed. To say that I just won the election, now you take what I give to you or take what I impose on you and say I have a mandate. No. That is a democracy. We don't live in a democracy. I mean, we are technically living in one now, but our nation was never set up that way. So I adhere to the process. I show fidelity to the Constitution, not the government, not the individuals that comprise government, and not the whims of democracy that once every 4 years we have to bite our nails to see how our lives are going to change.
What I have a problem with is we're talking about.
But before we move on, I'm giving you all the respect as a United States Marine. Did you hear what I said?
I did. Oh, yes.
So what in that do you think is wrong?
The fact that when the Constitution was written, no one fathomed machine guns. No one fathomed the need for universal health care.
Well, then you know what? Then we should only be allowed, as the caller said the other day, to have printing presses from that era. And we should only be allowed to ride horses because they couldn't have possibly imagined semi-trucks. And what's this Fourth Amendment privacy thing? The world is way too complicated for the government to wait for a warrant. And this freedom of speech thing, look at all the nasty things. They couldn't possibly imagine, shock radio or shock music or gangster rap. So we can't let people have free speech anymore because the founding fathers couldn't possibly have envisioned, Marilyn Manson or Kiss.
But that's my point. Things change. So why can't the Constitution change?
Well, change the Constitution by its process. So what you're saying, sir, is that if the government just decides that the right to be secure in one's houses and papers and person and effects and all those things, we just don't buy that anymore.
No, I want to do it properly. I want to do it through the right way.
But there's only one way to do that, sir. There is only one way. 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate, 3/4 of the states. That's it. If you want an assault weapons ban in North Carolina, push for one in North Carolina.
I own an assault weapon. I'm not against it. That's just one of the things that have come up.
So you want one for you, but you don't want to let me have one.
Oh, I want everybody to have one. I don't mind me one bit.
So you just said 30-round magazines and assault rifles. I'm not understanding this. What do you want banned?
Personally, I want 30-round magazines banned because if I was an unarmed man and I heard something going down, and as a Marine, I've been in combat, I would go after that. When you're an unarmed man and you're attacking somebody, you do it when they reload. And if you have a 10-round magazine, you reload more often.
Okay, so for that, you want to give the power for that anecdotal belief in unarmed versus armed, we should open up the federal government to new authority without the amendment process. Do you know how dangerous that is?
Well, you don't need an amendment for every little.
Yeah, yes, you do. Sir, yes, you do. That's the design of this government. There's a reason why the 10th Amendment bestowed all other powers on the states. There's a reason for that, sir. So people that live in North Carolina wouldn't be affected by the politics of New York or New York City. That what New York wanted to do with itself, they could only do to themselves and leave North Carolina out. And if North Carolina wanted to do it, they could do it themselves at the state level. This is what I mean. When I say the arguments cannot be broken, is because I'm standing firmly on the mechanics of the Constitution. The only legitimate legal way for the federal government to change or grow its powers is through the amendment process. And every problem that we have in our society can be drawn back to the fact that the government comes up with a really great idea and then ignores the fact that there are ripple effects and secondary and tertiary problems created by the government overstepping its bounds. For example, the knee-jerk reaction after 9/11 has given us the TSA that we can't stand now. The adherence to the Constitution is the only thing that will save this country, sir. And when people just think that, hey, wouldn't it be great if we let Barack Obama do this, or we let George W. Bush do that, or, hey, if Mitt Romney got elected, we could have done all these cool things. That's the problem. That's why your friends probably say these things to you. They don't mean it personally. It's this cultural mindset that the Constitution no longer applies. Thank you for the call, sir.